Hey guys, welcome to the show. Welcome with some great entrepreneurs here from Ukraine, but staying all over the place. Sergiy and Lazor from Railsware. I always have mistakes with these Ruby and Rails. So railsware.com. Two Ukrainians, and I prepared with amazing T-shirt, Slava Ukraina. It's visible out there in
Yes,
US and in Krakow. Yeah, we have amazing entrepreneurs coming from Ukraine doing business now all over the world, doing great products also, but also helping companies do products. I would love to go a little bit through the history of Railsware and then go into what is top of mind for you guys these days. So, guys, welcome to the show. Before we get started, who is Railsware? I would love to understand that.
Who is Railsware? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's this animal we keep in our secret lab, and then we take energy from it, and that's Railsware. But other than that, it's Railsware is a company. We call ourselves a product studio. This is because we're a studio that produces products, and we build a lot of them for basically our own needs and our own SaaS products. We build a lot of products for our clients as well. A lot of successful ones that makes us a successful product studio. Sergey, we should call ourselves a successful product studio. Success product studio.
Yeah, because
Yes.
that model which many companies in the Eastern Europe try to kind of find the silver bullet, how things can work, how to execute. And we know just a few examples which actually companies which succeeded in that. Railsware one of those.
I think you guys are the only software house that I know that is obsessed about products as much as you guys are, which is great because it's very clear strategy, right? So were you guys always like, you had this clarity that, okay, we need to do this and have this focus on the product? Or just to go back a little bit in history on how Railsware started and how you got here. And obviously in the meanwhile will be great to put in some nuggets of your own description, like who you guys are and what you do in the company, so that the listeners can understand a bit more about you, but also Railsware.
Yeah, absolutely. So the history of Railsware. There was a lot of confusion, of course, at the early days. We can just cut that out and make a typical Hollywood American story where you just glue the good pieces together, and then
you work hard and you succeed.
Yeah, that's it. That's basically it. This is everything I want to say. But other than that, we were always obsessed on the quality of building products, but also through over the years when we're able to execute properly on some other elements of the company, because there's a lot. We also liked to keep everything on a higher quality. All the executions, all the organization, operations, management, and everything. We always wanted things to be conscious so that we understand what's happening, not just we get to, a certain point by just luck, or we somehow roll to the finish line. We want to be glorious at the finish line, and we want to look great at the same time. Obsession with products started separately for me and Sergey, because at the time of the Railsware, when the Railsware was started, Sergey was not there. Where were you, Sergey? Sergey was not there. But eventually we combined this interest and urge for great products, and we pushed further, and it all started from consultancy. We were helping other companies build their products. We had some kind of like decent work we could focus on from the early days that helped us grow. And then we became serious about our own products. And when I mean serious, it's super hard to build a product, to deliver a product, to understand how to tweak it so that it gets product market fit, to even understand what the product market fit is, to run all the functions that you need to run a product, right? You have sales and marketing and QA and product management and engineering and front-end engineering, which is sometimes slightly different. Although in our company we have full stack and support. And then you have the operational functions like procurement or office management or accounting or legal. Hopefully I'm not forgetting anything. I probably did. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering, wasn't there tempting to just go into the typical body leasing, IT outsourcing?
No.
Because back then you had a
of
lot
course,
of companies.
like Hollywood story, no. But in fact, in the beginning, it was more closer to, let's say, outsourcing, because we were focusing on engineering mostly, a bit of design. There was no product management as the discipline, so it was more like standard outsourcing. But at certain moment, like around 2010, 2011, we were on the crossroad. Like we were thinking about, like, should we grow in the amounts and just provide the same type of service, or we would like to focus on higher quality, more building like a premium software shop where we provide not only engineering, but we kind of solve problems for our clients. So the client has a problem and he or she may not understand like how to solve it technically or even product wise. And we started to learn from our colleagues from United States. So there are companies like Thoughtbot, Pivotal Labs, and there were a bunch of others. We were traveling there, meet with them, learn their approaches, how they build product. And we started to apply certain practices that we learned there to our reality, because they were onshore, so they were able to sit together with the client face to face, so they can put their engineers working in pair with engineers of the client. We were not able to do so because we have different time zones. We're in Europe, they're in the United States, but we adopted model of the premium consultancy product building to our reality, and started to get kind of successful delivery one after another.
Yeah.
Because I think what I hear in other companies is that basically companies do IT outsourcing, body leasing, but then you have some developers on bench. So to keep them working, you give them some
Not our story.
products.
Not our story.
Yeah. So can you elaborate on for the audience on the two models, like how you see it done when it's like on the bench, and why that works, that doesn't work, what is the benefits of it, versus how you guys did it and what's different to that?
So two things. we had this advisor who was the CEO of Pivotal at some point, and he said to run consultancy, you need to be a high performer. You need to be very diligent. To build and run a product, you need to have a spark of genius to just see the reality, right? And this spark of genius is not. You cannot like take the people who are at the bench right now and just put them and say, spark the genius, dudes, or ladies, or whatever, whoever. It is impossible. You need to put, and then the Good to Great book says, your best people should be doing your the biggest opportunities, not your biggest problems. So you need the best people on your product. and then you can try to shake this spark of genius. And it is impossible to just have some kind of a bench, and this bench will somehow
it's like
figure
it's
it out.
like
And it was actually, I want to add, sorry, here
yes,
quickly,
please,
that it was never a story. It was never a story for us to initiate product because we had a bench. We didn't have a bench for many years, probably like, I don't know, 15, 14. So our motivation was to productize approaches and tools that we had inside the company. Every product that we have right now, that's a product that appeared inside solving our own problems as the company, organization. And so we then learned that other companies potentially may have the same problems. If we can make it publicly available and unify the workflows, then the other companies potentially will use it. And they actually use it. So that's why we have millions of users of our products.
So I would love to dive even deeper into these products. So let's think back to the first product that you guys developed. Like, what was the process there? Like, it was like a mistake that you found out somehow about this problem and you said, okay, let's sit down and solve the problem. It was more like an organized process that, okay, we want to go into this, so let's do a proper discovery. Can you walk us through a bit about your first product? I think the first one is...
Yeah. So basically we did a ton of products, and then we just released some of them. And then we would release all of them. And just trust in our ability to execute those products. At least I felt as a Ukrainian underdog, and it's so cool to be in US and deliver the products, and that's for sure will work. But like, why would it work for us? But then eventually the underdogness faded away, and we were able to execute those products. Right? I think the first product was so the first product that we did launch was Mailtrap. And it was we had a problem that you're sending emails from your local machine or from a staging server, and all of a sudden you can trigger an event that would send real clients real emails, fake emails, you would say, right? Some weird emails. For example, you're on your staging computer and you copied the production database, because everyone does. And then you want to do something like, let's say we have an event where we like delete a lot of user accounts, and you delete those user accounts, and they're sending emails like, your account was deleted to the
I get
client.
it.
They freak out, reply to it, and they say, oh, I'm sorry, it was like a staging event. Or we were testing email campaigns, and we sent a campaign of 200,000 emails. Or like you're doing on the local machine, you're doing forgot password, and the way it was working on the local machine is that in console you seen the email, and everything was broken up because it's like encoded with that thing that cuts the URLs for 80 characters. So we had those problems, we felt them, and we were like, okay, this is a great idea. Let's just do it. And this was it, like running around the company, just finding the person who would do it. And then someone said, well, okay, I have spare time, I could do it. And then they did it in their spare time as a first version, and then we roll out, and the community starts using it, and 5 years later we make it paid. But I was like, this is not the way to launch products. It's launching product is much more focused and much more lean. It should be much more focused, should be much more lean. You need the proper people to do it, and you need to. Our third product was the product that we launched, like really launched. We were actually focused on launching it.
Yeah, I would love to dive deeper into how you launch a product. I just wanted to understand a bit the beginnings. Like, so you felt the problem, like the engineers felt this problem and then build it. You went out into community. Community gave you great feedback, and that's how you
The third one, by the way, the third product is not for engineers. It's more, right now it's marketing people are the community and financial people and just business owners. So the last one, as Yaroslav mentioned, it was done already by the book. So we had the ideas incubator, It's like a discipline inside of the company. We had a board of ideas. There were a lot of ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And we can say that there was a small committee who was analyzing pluses and minuses to go with every of those ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Then we had finalists, and those assessed already more deeper by researchers. So they analyzed what are the markets, what are the competitors, what are the valuations of those companies, what are the potential segments that we can enter. And of course, what kind of expertise we have inside. And once we understood that, all right, coupler can be the next thing, and coupler before it was just an data importer, we already knew from the beginning that it's not going to be importer, it's going to be like a big data analytics platform. But we launched it kind of iteratively, again, by the book. So not the whole platform building for many years, but rather focusing on smaller piece, just data migrating from one source to one destination, then extending the amount of destinations, amount of sources, then adding the visualization layer, and so on. And so there is a pretty long
transformation layer.
I love it. I love it because I need to say this because I see that you drink your own champagne. I mean, if somebody goes and says, okay, I want to do a product, it's like, okay, here are all the fucking products that we did, and here is the amazing, you have how many? 790,000 users of this coupler. Like you have Uber, Bolt, Stanford, you have all these companies using it. And I mean, you just show it to a client. Look, this is what we did. This is how we did it. This is what we can do. We can do for you.
So you think that it should sell to the customer, but it is not.
I mean, my way of thinking. But tell me about it.
So we were thinking about the same thing. So when we had MailTrap as the product, as Yaroslav mentioned, for quite some time, we believed that having own product will prove that we're fantastic in building software, and clients will run to us.
Line up.
Line up. Which is not true. I mean, it appeared that some of them find it potentially risky. So they start to ask questions. All right, I will start with you. Your product will start to grow better than it is growing right now. So what will you do? Will you take my team to that product, or what will happen? So that's one of it's not the main risk, but that's a question that pops up. So the other thing is about ideas. If we know how to build products, they kind of feel more risky that this team can, I don't know, theoretically repeat our idea, which is of course not our ethic. That's not something that we do. But when a company from United States gonna share the ideas, precious ideas, to the company that is offshore, so they consider all those kind of risky situations, right?
Yeah, I believe it's a reason to believe, right? It's like it's a reason to believe that you guys know how to do product, right?
Yeah, and in fact, I just met. I was just visiting the clients, two of our clients, one in Nashville and one in New York, and then the client from Nashville, Seatime, they said, actually, one of the reasons we went with you guys is because you had your own products, because you were not just like a body shop. You guys know how to execute and develop and do that and feel the pressure of finances running out, but you need to build the product. So we get it. So, it really depends, client by client, I guess.
Yeah, but it's not the main factor. Let's say that. So of course there is like usually it's a couple of factors that plays towards your win, right, or loss. And but it was never like a case that, hey guys, you built MailTrap, build a product for us. Never. But when Taupe, our customer, like Calendly founder, had a podcast, pretty like with the broad audience. So his podcast generated a lot of leads, and it was like that we can definitely attribute that the podcast where Taupe has shared his success with his product telling about us, which we appreciate a lot. So he mentioned that Railsware played a significant role in success of the product.
Of talent lead, right?
Then receive leads again and again for more than a year. So we had like a spike of leads. And it was like, what was most interesting part here is that we received leads like very kind of high quality. The entrepreneurs with the ideas who were not aware of how to building products, but they were aware of how to build businesses. And this is the most interesting case for us, because then we combine both worlds, and in this case, there is a possibility to build a great product.
So did you ever feel like you need to go on a particular industry vertical, or it was always like products, but I don't know, doesn't really matter what industry or vertical it is? Because it's always this debate like, okay, you need to do product, but also you need to be very niche in a particular industry, right? I don't know, fintech. You really need to know how to do fintech, or you need to know enterprise or whatever. So what's your take on this mix of being expertise in this vertical also?
Yeah, so we didn't. We didn't do specialization, and that's because we're such a small company. It's nearly impossible to do specialization, and it's also very hard / impossible to become a big company with high quality people right away, because it's still, you need to have the base to which you add the people, and then depending on the situation in the market to hire like really, really great people. And we hire around 1 out of 143 people, which is a ridiculous number. In general, people don't do that, but we do that, and then there's a reason for us for that. And and then eventually, as an outcome of that and as a result of that, we have all those amazing products that we build for ourselves and for our clients. But to specialize, it's very hard. We would need to be a 1,000 people company to specialize basically, and say, well, those people work on this and those people work on that. Out of that, all our clients are completely different. Some are in medical industry, some are in the calendar
satellite technologies.
Satellite technologies, yeah. Seatime is doing like farming.
Farming. Yeah. Growing.
So it's more about you need to capture the context. You need to understand. So what our clients always valued about us, this is a single factor, is that we are conscious day one. They call us, they talk to us. We don't talk about their budget. We don't talk about their finances right away. We're asking them about their product. What is the product about? What do you want help with? And we consciously dive into the product. We listen to what it should be. And now we have this immense, huge piles of knowledge that we look in this like 4-dimensional space when we're talking about products and how to launch them and what to do with them, not just build them. Even 10 years ago, we were mostly building them, but now we know what's the best way to launch them, what's the best single things to launch them with. Or like, oh, so your product requires a lot of content to be added by like those companies. They're not going to do it because they're running right now with their operations and they're living their life as it is right now. And then you add those new things to them. They cannot do that. So let's see if we can integrate with the systems they have content in right now and then pull this content. It might be not what you want, but it's a better way to run, because otherwise you're just going to have a blank. You're going to have a product. It is possible to do it, but they won't do it because they're busy or tired or whatever, or everything at the same time. So we operate at a completely different level of product building. Either it's our products or someone else's products.
So we have a framework which has the name Bridges, and it was inspired by Pivotal Labs Inception. So Inception was more focused on like consultancy products, while Bridges is more like a broad and versatile. But in any case, this framework helps you to onboard yourself and your team into the context very quickly. So it breaks of anything. So that's the kind of the beauty of this framework. that it breaks the concepts into atoms and kind of discrete things, and then connection between those atoms, and kind of it gives a possibility to instead of conversations which lead you kind of in circles, you talk about things again and again. This framework helps you to break into the pieces, talk about one thing, make sure that all the team on the same page, you have discussed all the specifics about certain item, and then you move to the other, and then you move to the next and to the next, until you have all those cards on, so like those behind my back, like physical or whiteboards, like virtual whiteboards. That there are plenty of tools right now. We prefer FigJam, for example.
So how is that is based on some book? How is the book called? Like, just for the audience?
No, it's not. There is no book.
Based on the book.
Yeah, we have bridges nicely described on the website. So it's a sub website on our main website. We can share the link afterwards.
Please.
And there is a video also which explains how Bridges framework works. And the thing here is that it's framework which works both for product development and for kind of processes organization, for company management, so it's kind of, you have a solution problem, problem space and solution space. And kind of it helps you to split and cut into the pieces the problem, and then find the solution that will cover all the pieces of the problem.
And the problem is like an extract of the neural net of the brain of a person who was a part of a certain context or product for 10 years, right? Let's say the satellite business. It's crazy, right? I mean, if we can figure out something straightforward, let's say like booking calendar, everyone does it, right? Then satellite business is slightly more weird for us. And then the way we do it, we extract all the issues, all the benefits that people want, the risks that people want. Who are the personas? What are their? How do they live? What is the goals of the business? What is it? Something the domain knowledge of the business, something you know, but we would know. And we extract it and we put this neural net on the whiteboard. And this is worth like 2 years in working into a product or reading a typical like requirement spec where people combine everything. There's actually like 5 roadmaps in every product. There's a strategic roadmap, a sales and marketing roadmap, functional roadmap, team roadmap, and technical roadmap. And then all of them are very different. And when you're putting all of that in one conversation, it just starts to be banana and lava.
And this takes me to the team question, right? How and who should be in the team? Like, how do you start with the company to when you start working? Because I suppose if you are you have so many people, as you said, the lava, right? Like 5 roadmaps. Then you need to have some kind of architect, some kind of orchestrator of this whole thing, right? I suppose. And this person needs to align all the people, the clients, the teams, and then making sure that you care about the customers, and you solve the customer problems, the customer's problem, let's say, right? So can you tell us more about the team and how a team is structured?
Yeah,
when you work with clients?
2 things. Yeah, for sure. 2 things. So we try to start with the leanest team possible. That would typically be a pair of engineers. Very rarely we would start with just 1 engineer. And there would be a product manager who could be on the side of a client, or the client themselves, or the business owner themselves. Or if they don't have the particular product management approach, then we have our product manager who starts with them. And that would be a designer who also needs to understand all this context in order.
Product designer. Yeah.
Product designer, yeah, exactly. It's not the graphical designer. Yeah, it's very important. Very different roles. And that would be the minimum viable team. I would say client would represent the business part, which is sales, marketing, the commercial success, what's the strategy, direction. And we would represent the product and the design direction of where we need to go. But it's also important to say, and it's on top of bridges, of what we do, or I do specifically, and we have those conversations back and forth with Sergiy, is another concept which is called the heart. The heart is the minimum viable part of Sergiy Smile. The heart is the
I agree
minimum
with
viable part
minimal
of the
viable
product.
product.
Minimum viable is cool, but what is the minimum viable and how do you select it and what's the point of it? And it's very important to select such a part of the system, which is the riskiest part of the system, the most unknown. And it's important to build it as fast as possible so that the team around it wraps around this thing. And then all of the people look at them and they say, okay, so in 3 days, we can build a version of something. All those people will look at it and they'll say, oh, wow, now I get it what the product is. We talk about those cards, we talk about this, we talk about those options, we talk about those integrations, but now we finally see it. And I can give you 2 quick examples. One of them was Calendly, is when we build the booking page. Not the login page, not the team management page, not the like event types management page. We build the booking page with one hard-coded event, with a founder hard-coded calendar, 9 to 5 availability, 15 minutes availability. So we hard-coded all of that. And then so we took his calendar and we were able to render this booking page, which showed the calendar of which days he has slots in. And then when you click on the one calendar, you just see the list of hours where you could book the events. And we did it straight on Google API just to test it. If Google API is it even possible to do it? We don't know. You can plan, you can look, you can research, but then eventually once you build it, you're like, oh, wow, I'm missing this last 5%.
API.
Yeah, and then so we build that, and then we ask all our company to refresh this page like for some period of time, like 15 to 30 minutes, just to see if there will be some Google API limitations. Do we need to add cache in? What do we have to do? It's very different products. And then we saw that it just works. And then basically at that point, the team was like, oh, wow, now we see what the product is. Because the rest of the functionality is basically administrative. It's a functionality to connect the calendar, to create the login, to forgot the password. We didn't do forgot password because we did Google authentication. Then you didn't have a password, which also saves you time as well, and saves you budget. And then we created the heart of the system, which is the booking page. And then from there, we started like pulling it away flow by flow. And then when the budget is cut, you just cut you cut the snake tail. So you have the head of the snake, you have a bit of a body of the snake, and then that's enough. And then we deliver the product to the market, and we see how the market reacts. And this is why I love, except for say minimum product, say the heart. Well, maybe it should be called the heart. Maybe we should call the snake head with as long tail as possible. Then it would make more sense, Sergiy, for you. And then the same thing happened with our product in Smart Checklist. We built it in 3 days, and we had a very minimalistic version of it that is bare minimum for it to just work. And it had a lot of like smart things in it. Like we just used the text field of Jira, no backend, just a front end JavaScript, which was where we had a text area where you write your checklist, you save it, and then it renders as a checklist, and you can only check it. You were not able to do inline editing and all those fancy things. And we also deployed it to the market. In a couple of months, we had 700 installs and 100,000 users using it or something like that. And then we understood, okay, we have a product. People like it, so let's expand it, let's embed it. So the snake head or the heart or whatever, it's kind of important to know where you start from. And you need to create team dynamics so people are excited about the product. They understand what the product is. There's no confusion. There's no fear. There's no fear of failure. And they don't start from functionality they already know, like the creating of logins or some administrative page manager or something like that. You must start from the most important risky thing. Then people will understand the product, and then their dynamics will be will be great. And then the team will be happy, and they're on a journey. They're not in the basement locked down to be opened in 3 months just to see that everyone's dead and there's no product, just pieces stick together, right?
When we looked at the software houses in Poland, we looked at employee count. And what was the employee count in 2019 versus 2024? And I think you are the only company that grew in number of employees. Many of the companies had a lot of tech layoffs, and I really want to bring the dinosaur or the elephant in the room, because it's important. Links to this lean method that you mentioned. You believe that this approach of lean helped you with this whole crisis that was with the tech layoffs, or what's one of the reasons why you guys grew while other needed to lay off people?
So I can say that certainly we were growing our products. The products were growing and we were able to invest more in them and grow them. And the second thing was that our clients grew within the teams as well, and they needed more help. And because we provide an actual help rather than we occupy a seat that might potentially turn into benefit or not, and you don't know. Our people are like, they have names and they're not a seat, and they do help clients deliver a certain very next important thing within their product, and they know their influence in a particular element, and they're actually delivering, and all of them are selected so that they love to build products, and we never make exceptions for that. We never put people who are just barely warm, like that body is like sitting in the seats, like in a straight up position. And then
I want
yeah, go
ahead. So I just want to add here, in addition, that many companies which are focusing on just the pure outsourcing, they hire people from street directly to the project. This is a usual situation. So the client needs 20 engineers. They just HR start
open
to
the
search
door. 20 people from the street come in, they close it.
Yeah, usually they take, I don't know, they have interview with 60, then they take every third and on board to the project. And see, they sit there. So they have different culture. So although it's a one company, but they have absolutely different approaches how to write software, how to manage product development. And then
talk to colleagues.
Yeah, and then client comes and says, "All right, we cannot afford anymore your team, so we're wrapping up the relationships." And then you have 30 people or 20 people, 20 engineers, let's say, plus project managers, plus others, who absolutely not applicable for other product. So if you talk about Railsware, Railswarian is the professional who's usually a full stack engineer. Yeah, so it's a person who can, or professional who can join any project, apply approaches which are part of the development culture that we have. Every engineer that we hire, they join our own product in the beginning. So we have an onboarding process where we provide the kind of a bunch of different approaches that we use to work with, the way how we write software, the way how we deploy software, how we review commits, and so on and so on. So it's pretty, yeah. Because whatever company you come from, you have certain differences, and so we need to make sure that we work in the same manner. And of course, there are some successful trials, unsuccessful trials. But we make sure that when the person joins Railsware and then helps clients to build software, we must be sure that it will be a high quality product kind of service, right? Product as a service. So we can, that's an important part. And that helps even to find clients while there is a crisis outside.
And I would like, in that case, to shift a bit the discussions towards revenue and marketing, right? Because I think that's something that you need to get the ROI from these projects, right? So, can you give us some examples
from clients or from services or from products?
I think from products, for sure, from products, right? So like the products that you guys build need to make money at the end of the day, right? Like that's the
at the beginning of the day as well.
at the beginning of the day, yeah. Also, thank you for the correction. So I'm just wondering if you can give us some examples for people who are mainly in SaaS, because here we talk a lot about revenue operations and more like marketing. Like, how can we do better product marketing so we can get actually make sure that we build the products or the features in the products that eventually will bring us the ROI?
Yeah, so I would say it really depends on how intimate do you know the market. If you're cold in the market, it'll take you a lot of time because you'll have some ideas and suggestions, and you need to build even the heart, most likely to show it to people. You know, very often they say like, okay, so build some prototypes and go to the street and show it to people. You could do that, but the street doesn't represent a great, if it's not like a consumer market, and if you're not in US, right, and it doesn't represent a great representation of the proper people that you'll be working with. If you know like 100 seasonal professionals who can give you feedback about your Figma prototypes or about your MVP or the hard prototype, right? Then you'll be able to get high quality feedback. But then you're not cold into this market, into this context. If you're cold, you either have to get it from your own experience within your own company, within or some experience that you had, and then kind of try to slowly gain access to those seasonal professionals. And you can, you can pay people at LinkedIn with an Amazon gift card, or you can just ask them or beg them to look at your product, whatever you need. But you need to understand their perspective, and their perspective is also not going to be that great, because when you're building, like, there's this Netflix, Spotify documentary, and then if you look at it, the struggles that they had to go through was ridiculous. Nobody wanted to do anything with them. And very often the successful products are like that. Airbnb had the same story. Like nobody wanted to invest in them, right? And because nobody thought this is possible, but they eventually created a really successful company. It's still usable and successful, and is the standard on the industry. So you have to. It really depends where you are, right? And then, but some people, you talk to them about it, and they're like, "Oh, I want to create this product. The product is like very regular thing." And I'm like, well, it's a very regular thing. There's a lot of them. And he's like, yes, but there's a trick. I know those people that will buy from me tomorrow, and I know that they're going to give me like 10% of their revenue. And some of them are doing like 800,000 a month sale, and they need this platform, and they want this platform. I want to build it right now. I'm like, then, it's a very different thing because the product market fit is going to be on a completely different scale and level and embedment and so on and so on. So very much depends on your context within the industry, right? And then other than that, you're trying to build a MVP, and then you try to sell it to people, and they'll give you feedback. But very often they won't give you feedback. You'll send them emails, they'll sign up, they'll try the product, you'll send them emails like, hey, why did you leave? And then there's no answer from the other side. Maybe you can make a survey when they churn, and then you add elements into it, and then maybe they'll text something or not. It really, really, really depends on a lot of factors, because people are nowadays very overloaded with everything, and they don't have time to talk to everyone. Even when you say it's going to be a 5-minute call, no such thing as 5-minute calls.
Yeah, exactly.
It takes 5 minutes to say, hello, do you hear me? Hello, do you hear me? Change the microphone settings, like 5 minutes are done.
But when you guys work with clients, I'm just curious, is there a, do you get feedback for the revenue that was generated by those features or by those things done? And how do you measure those? Or if you can give us some examples of those.
But just measure the revenue. Look at the subscriptions, right? So MRR is an infinite revenue. Very often we help our clients. We by a matter of curse, a voodoo curse, we were bad at finances, and then we had to lift the curse and fix the curse, and then we became really great at finances. Now we help our clients to actually clean up their finances and look at their MRR very often. And very often we were the first ones who helped them to do it rather than their CFOs and financial people, except for like very simple cases.
So I suppose you launch a product. Sorry, Sergiy, I want to dig deeper into this revenue to really understand.
I just wanted to kind of give a bit more of the context previous one.
Please. Then
we will get back to revenue.
Yes, please.
So I just want to tell everyone who's listening and think that there is a silver bullet that you will read somewhere, and it will explain you how to succeed with the product. It's a bullshit. Like, there is no such silver bullet. Every success that you know and you will read about, the true story behind is different, completely different. Like, usually it's kind of more cinematic when you read about it. Like, there is, certain points at the time that made a change. But in fact, there is a lot of work. There is a lot of kind of genius sparks that should appear during the course, but also a lot of luck. So you met some person, you talked to that person, and it appeared that that person works for some marketplace, and they are preparing marketplace, and he offered you to build the first plugin for that marketplace. So you said, all right, let's give it a try. So you give it a try. You're first on that marketplace that is presented to the community. And then you collect all the attention of the community from that marketplace. So there are a lot of such things, like that success came with a bunch of accidents and hard work. So it's a mix of everything, right? But there is still a space for the hard work and approaches and fine-tuning that Yaroslav mentioned about, like how to search the path within the market, like to find the spot where you can a niche, right? Maybe niche, or maybe a possibility to cut off some revenue from your competitors or extend the market. And there is one very good example that personally inspired me a lot. There is such tool like Clockify. We don't have any relationship to those guys, but
like the
still for me they
tool,
are
right?
Time tracking tool. Yeah, we also were a company that built software probably, yeah. I guess they were the company that were building
Serbia, I think.
Software. Yeah, from Serbia. So they actually took the tool that was popular at that moment. It was the name of the product, Toggle, and so they've built a simple version of Toggle, and they stated that's a free Toggle. So
$30
at that
$30 per month for
it's free. It's free it was free for personal use, and then super cheap for companies. So and it happened at the moment when Toggle decided to raise the prices, and really it was already
a ridiculous level. It was more expensive than Slack.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was absolutely. So that's the moment when you try to squeeze even more from your customers and try to raise the prices, and it kind of just potentially can kill you. But I believe they lost a pretty significant part of their users. So those users start to migrate to a free or a super cheap for the company's version of Clockify. They migrated. They kind of spend their year or something, and then Clockify made it paid and brought to the prices similar to what was the pricing schema of Toggle. Yep. Yeah, but because everyone has already started to use it and used to it, then a lot of customers they have just stick to the product, and they became $1 billion business. So it's like
overnight.
That's a pretty impressive and inspiring.
That's a nice silver bullet.
Yeah. So you don't need a super advanced it wasn't advanced. UX wasn't super great. There was no, some deep research. It was someone just thought, all right, it may be a good idea to make a free version out of those popular, free version of that popular tool.
Free version is a regular way you start the product, right? And then people were running away from, not toward you, but they were running away from those ridiculous pricing that Toggle made. And they ran toward wherever was on the Google search on first position, and they happened to be the guys, right, from the time tracking. And it really became huge. I have another silver bullet for you, which is super awesome, and it really works. It really works.
Please, and then I would
if you
like to
don't
go back to the question with the revenue.
revenue, yeah. If you don't quit, you have a higher chance of success within your product than people who quit.
Good one.
Yeah, and I now have a lot of billionaire friends, and I talk to a lot of them, and then a lot of them, when you start digging into their history and what happened actually, they didn't quit even when it was ridiculous. There was this guy who says, my first year revenue was $5. Second year we did 200. I was like, 200K? No, $200. The third year we did 1,400. And the fourth year we did 50,000. And the fifth year we did like 250. And the fourth year like 5 million. How the hell he stay going through this? And then he was running another job at the time. And then how you know, what's happened? So he didn't quit. And the similar thing happened to Calendly. Calendly didn't become $1 billion like the day after tomorrow, right? It was, the founder was covered in credit card debts. He was super stressed with all this stuff. It was crazy for him as well. But like, and then at some point it was like 100K, and then it's public information and so on. So he didn't quit. And then not quitting is very important. Then you have a chance of arriving to revenue. And then people who quit their homework, and people who quit building their business doesn't work. That will, you know. So
yeah, and I suppose the other coin to this is that you need to pivot in the right time. Right? I know a company that started to do here in Poland is parking for corporations, like parking slots, and you can reserve the parking slots because there were a lot of corpos and people coming to offices. But then at one point, one of the customer asked, but can you do the same for desks? And then they pivoted the whole business and they are doing desk, and then COVID came and so on. And they were really successful. So as you said, luck plus knowing commitment and knowing when to pivot. So I'm just wondering about the feedback with the revenue, because I want to understand it. So how does it work? Like, you will, let's say you have a client, or you do it for your own products, you release a feature or you release some changes, and then you are tracking the actual revenue that was caused because of that feature change, or you release more features, or how do you link all these feature or product versions to revenue?
Successful company doesn't do that. Successful companies just have a stream of money and they build something, and sometimes they try to analyze what was the what feature worked well, which wasn't. So, I mean, you need such level of precision only when you have not a lot of money, like really.
Mm-hmm. Not a lot of revenue. Yep.
When you have enough of money to run the company, it's just absolutely useless activity to try to measure every feature. I mean, you need to measure impact, and this is something that we do. So let's say we introduce better onboarding flow, and we see that conversion grew from 10% to 15%. That's a valuable thing, right? Mm-hmm. Or if we introduce certain feature, it bring the retention for the better level. That's something that is important. So you need to observe all those metrics that are important for you. And in the end, of course, it's a revenue, right? I mean, everything. But again, at certain moment, you may work not on revenue, but rather on amount of signups. And your strategy could be to get as many customers as possible, then make them happy about your product, stick to your product, then introduce some just simple plan for $20. And then when they already work with the whole company on this product, then they make the plan of 200 and tell you that right now you should convert from 20 to 200s. Mm-hmm. That's Zapier case. So when Zapier was quite new, we were one of the early users of that tool. So for $20 plan, the whole company was running without any issues, like a bunch of automations in different areas. But then next day, like it became like $200, and then next day it became like $500 for the same like, I mean, they add functionality, but the core which we used was the same. So we haven't changed the automations much after that. So they introduced many features, but still the core we paid for $20, it right now start to cost $500.
Yep. So raise the prices is another silver bullet, but like Zapier, not like Toggle. It's very important. Don't make the mistake. And I wanted to say another thing that got into my head. When we were early in the day, we were, especially me, I was crazy about, let's do this, let's implement that, let's try this, let's measure this, let's do this. And everyone was like, whoa, there's so many things. Do we really need those? I was like, yes, we need those. You need to know everything. I mean, everything. The thing is that what it led us to is that we did a lot of experiments. You don't need, if you have a castle to run, you probably need to set up processes. But if you have a tent on the street and just live there, you don't need that much stuff. You basically are focusing to push one thing, and that one thing will change your conversion, and you'll see. Changes your conversion or not. If it didn't change your conversion, well, most likely you're not going to cut it out or something. Companies who have a lot of money, they operate differently, of course, and they need, there's Booking.com, which is like, they say, it's like super ridiculously, super cool and fun, and they add things, and it's automatically tests and automatically tracks conversion with and without, in parallel, ABC testing, like some crazy stuff. But you're not Booking.com. You don't need to.
Yeah, you don't have the level of data.
You don't have you don't need that right now. It doesn't matter. You're just gonna overload your people. Even with 90 engineers today, we still find ways to overload people. Some in our team are generating too many ideas for the team to say, like, just stop, please. And then it's also a problem because you're just diverting your team into a lot of potential possibilities. You have to choose. You have to, be a man, choose. Sorry, I mean, be a
and Jeff Bezos said the really nice shared statement that you need to make a decision when it's 70% of information which is known. Like when you make a decision when there is a 90% of information known, then it's too late. So still you should take a risk. So you cannot constantly measure and put analytics all around. It's very expensive to analyze everything around, and in the end, kind of, it does not help you to pay salaries or pay for your infrastructure. So you need revenue. It's like whatever you measure, if there is no revenue, kind of enough revenue to cover your costs, to cover your operations, then you are in trouble. And this is something that you will know for sure. And so it's better to focus on those high level things that help you to convert customers. And that's important part.
And then the second thing, also Bezos said that the same thing. We were like crediting Bezos. He's also not affiliated with us. He said, do not optimize your operations until it's scaled. And this was one of my biggest mistakes when we were a 60 people company and we had one office manager. We were really trying to make that office manager to be like really awesome, to like buy hardware, like a perfect craftsman, and to take care of the office and be able to technically fix the conditioners better than the people who run the conditioners forever, and then to fix them up, and then run events and be great at running events. And that was a big mistake. And I personally spent years trying to find that perfect office manager because we could have afford just one person, or maybe 1.5. And then we grew to like 100 something people. We were able to hire someone who does procurement from a company that did procurement before with approaches and principles, and someone who's doing office who's in a different role. And then events would shift between procurement and HR folks. And then we grew our HR. This was the proper success. It's like, don't try to perfect things at a very early stage because it's just not going to work. You won't be able to fully understand what they are, and you won't be able to hire those perfect people that run it. And there was another
and the same with processes. So you optimize the processes
guys, I want
too early.
before we close,
Go ahead.
I want to just touch a little bit on product marketing, because I'm curious on that role when it comes to your products. Like, how do you share resources? You do the same teams? And when it comes to customers, are they bringing in their marketing teams and you guys feedback it? Or how is the relationship with marketing overall?
So typically, we start with companies from complete zero to a decent hero and trying to push them further, right? A lot of the times they would have their own marketing. For Calendly, we ran them. We just pushed Calendly over the edge to some of our clients, and they started to book meetings with their clients, and then it became a snowball, and it blew up, right? So, but this is a very rare case when the product kind of presents itself. Now we look at our own marketing, there is a kind of a silver bullet approach right? You have to find the auditorium, the persona that is going to convert the best. But this is when you're just starting the product, very tricky. Who's that persona specifically? Is it like the marketing team? But marketing team has like a billion roles. So this is SEO specialist, there's a marketing manager, there's an advertisement manager, there's very specific people. And then you have to hustle the best you can to actually understand who are the people who will, instead of putting your tool, even if it's referred by friend, into a not to-do list that, will just be flushed away with other stuff. Or they will actually just open up and see and tinker with it and see if it works or not. So you need those people who will open up and tinker with it. So there has to be some wording, and then, because people will give you 3 words attention. If those 3 words hook them up, they will give you 30 seconds attention. If those 30 seconds hook them up, they'll give you 5 minutes attention. So you have to fix all of this in a way that it becomes practical in your use case. So you have to hustle through this, and you have to understand who this user is, who is going to give you this attention. If you try to sell the product as a generic tool that it helps everyone from egg through chicken to men, right, of all professions, it is a big problem, because there's no 3 words that will catch the people attention, and you need to find them. So you need to specialize at the beginning, and then you can expand into solutions, and then you tell, for the companies between 100 and 300, we help with those funds. For a company between 300 and 1,000, we help with those companies like this. And here's our clients, Nokia and Spotify and AWS and Amazon. This is a very, very different path, but at the beginning, it's that.
And this discussion is driven by product marketing, or who drives this whole?
Let me just add here a bit of explanation. So let's separate the service business and product business. On product business, we have every product has separate marketing team. Okay. And that marketing team usually starts with we can call it full stack marketing manager, the person with the overall good vision, what marketing is, what are the instruments that can be used. And then with the growth of the product, the team start to grow. So every role start to get a separate person. So you get a CEO specialist, you start to get content writers, you start to get performance marketing, and so on. So you start to build up the team. So the person who is responsible for, let's say, building, making YouTube videos, video content, and so on. So, but we build marketing teams similar how we build product teams. So you start with someone with broad expertise, with the product expertise, who will incrementally add more and more expertise, already deeper expertise, by introducing new experts. But of course, if you invest your own money, when you don't have millions to invest, then it happens like over the right, because you start to generate more revenue, you are able to invest more, so you add more people, and so it's kind of like a snowball, gains more revenue, which you invest again into marketing, partially in product team, and so on. So that's how it happens in marketing on the products. But then marketing on the service side, we don't provide any special service which we charge for. But we provide advices for now. We provide advices for young entrepreneurs who has no experience with just with marketing at all. So at least we help them to organize their marketing website so that they're visible for Google, so they get a higher rank, and so on. So like those type of advices, but that just goes as a friendly package of our services, but that's not
like
something we charge for. Like
and then it's sorry. After that,
I'm just curious. I'm very, very curious if the product manager is giving these marketing advices, or who is, because
no, it's a separate. No. So there is a person who is manager of the account, right? So we call them liaison.
Okay.
And so liaisons, we have a few, Artur and Anatoly. They are managing basically relationships across the consultancy service. And they are a part of the board of directors. So they help in they a part of the team that makes decision. And so they are very familiar. And so they are very familiar what is going on.
And they're familiar.
And so they come
one
to
thing
this.
Is why are they familiar with everything that's going on within the company is because we overshare information using craft syncs. So people come in and they say, we did this to the product and this worked and that created a better activation and that didn't work. And so we have this product guild that shares everything that happens within products. They are there. At the same time, we have the company management meeting where we run the whole company with allocations, with stuff like that. And then they also hear about what's happening within our products from the perspective of people that run those products, and also what's the outcome of that. And then they gain this knowledge, and then they're able to say, you know what, I think this client would use that help from us. And then we connect the client with the, let's say, proper knowledge holder within our organization.
Got it. That's a good insight. So what's the future of Railsware? What's the next step for you guys?
Well, we're expanding. Well,
$1 billion
hopefully
business.
$1 trillion. But we're expanding our products. The products grow linearly until they have a hockey stick effect. Hopefully, we'll get those hockey sticks shipped soon, which is the product market fit, a broad product market fit, right? And then because we have 3 products, that expansion should drive another set of expansions within products and so on. After those 3 products, first we have to execute them and take them to like a really, really great scale, and we'll proceed on going. At the same time, consultancy grows. We try to hire the best people we can. Our hiring is always wide open. We always look at people. In the last 3 years, we look at 21,000 people across all roles, and we interviewed and tested them and hired 1 out of 143 throughout all the roles within the company. We have an amazing team.
So
we have a really, really amazing team.
The balance goes more into product or more into service or consulting?
The market will show where the balance goes. We're wide open for both of them. We execute both of them. There's a future for both of them, and we love giving people great work. So when they enter our company, they get onboarded and they go to consultancy products. It's a great work. We work with some really, really great clients. When they enter and then they start working within our own products, it's great work for them as well. So we love giving people really great work, and we're expanding everything at the same time and just deepening our knowledge.
Yeah, so I would say this year is pretty crucial because historically happened that every of our products has own trajectory, but they come to a certain point of where the line can be curved, and we really hope for that. We're hoping for that. So this year is important. This year, the next year probably, but. So our solutions become more solid, more professional, and we in every product we start to understand our audience much better, who they are, and how to work with them. So we see the traction. There are positive markers, but still we need to find this curved line, and this is something that we work on.
So guys, before we close, where can people find more stuff about you? Like maybe more podcasts. You mentioned about the Calendly one. Where can people dig in more about your company and what you guys do?
LinkedIn, Twitter, Railsware website, and then we cross-share news about our products, and you can find from there. So our website is the entrance point, so everything is there. All the content references,
curated with love. There's no bullshit pages.
References.
You can read each one of them. Each one of them has curated content where we actually really care of what we share. And then there's a bunch of podcasts that both Sergiy was on, I was on, or both of us were on, and we shared similar stories or similar aspects.
Can you name some? Can you name some that would be good for the next, next episode? If we would have a playlist of Railsware, what would be the next in this playlist?
I think we should make a page with that. But basically, if you search for Railsware podcast or Yaroslav Lazor podcast, then you'll find there's a strategic product planning that we had with SAS Fuel. There's a VB40 podcast and iHeart. There's a bunch of basically. I think we either have or should have a page with podcast lists on our website that we're craft soon. But also we can send you the links and you can connect them in the description.
Please, we will put it in the show notes. We will put it in the show notes. Amazing story again, Slava Ukraina. I'm really, I don't know how to express it. Like proud that you guys started it in the city where I live also. Even though we don't have any connection about that, but having people living in Krakow, like you, Sergiy, Lazor, like Yaroslav, you also lived here few years, right? So that's great.
But started we in Kyiv. So
you started in Kyiv, lovely city. I was there many times. So thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for this story, and let's be in touch.
Yes, thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.